Philadelphia Union starting their MLS Cup playoff push, winning game one of a kind of a weird series format, a weird playoff. We'll talk about that in a minute. But an exciting week for the Union.
Yep, you got a chance to move on to the next round this week, which is huge. Phase 2 of the World Cup tickets went on sale this week, so there's a lot to talk about. But as always, we want everybody to follow the show on Instagram, brotherly_love FC, and don't forget to keep sending us your highlights. I know every weekend there's club teams all over the area out there playing. Send us your highlights.
Tag us.
Tag us. Send it to us. Direct message. Just tag us. Whatever. We'll put them out there. We'll see your kids on TV. We have a good highlight later in the show. Yeah,
and because the show is all about. We'll talk about FIFA World Cup coming next year. We're obviously going to the whole show today about the Union. But we want to see it's also about the local, the developmental, the college, the high school, because that's a big part of how you grow the game here.
Absolutely. And the soccer community here is so huge from the youth all the way through, like you said, between high school and college and club and pro. There's so many stories out there to tell, and that's why we're doing the show.
All right. So let's get to the big story. Philadelphia Union, MLS Cup playoffs, Supporters Shield. They dropped the banner on Saturday night, or Sunday actually, at Subaru Park over the weekend. Another postseason appearance, another chance to make a deep run in the playoffs.
Yeah, Chris, and if people don't understand the way the MLS playoffs are set up, the first round is interesting. It's a best of 3. And if it's tied at the end of regulation, there's not overtime. It goes right to PKs like the Union did last weekend. Then it goes to single elimination. It's kind of different, I guess you could say. MLS looking to spread that playoff out as long as they can. But so after this round, if the Union are able to advance, it's single elimination.
Union won game 1, best of 3 against Chicago Fire. Won a great game Sunday. And one of the most recognizable voices in Philly soccer, Philadelphia Union, play-by-play broadcaster, Dave Leno. Dave, thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming in. We got the whole half hour with you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Tom, for having me. Thank you so much for talking about the Philadelphia Union. I'm fired up broadcasting the playoffs, and hopefully our boys in blue can continue to go far.
Yeah, before we get into the Union, let's talk about, I'd like to talk about how you got into the game. You're a broadcaster. Tell us about your roots. You have some Philly roots. How did you get started?
I'm a Bucks County native, grew up in Richboro, Pennsylvania. Played first intramural soccer in Northeast Philly for the Bustleton Bengals. Then moved up to Bucks County in Richboro and played for Council Rock, all like rec league soccer. Was a defender, sometimes would play up top, would be versatile, could play multiple positions, maybe for Tom's team one day. Yeah. And then I actually went to a big-time soccer school, I would say, in college, Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana, in the Big Ten. I was there as a journalism major, so with that broadcast emphasis, but on the side, like we all do in this business, was working around my broadcasting. So what was really cool about my journey at IU was I traveled all around the Big Ten and all around the country with the volleyball and the softball teams my junior and senior year down on the Big Ten Network. I'm a Fox affiliate on national TV at 21. But I also announced, starting freshman year all the way to my senior year, Indiana men's and women's soccer. Indiana men's soccer is a rich tradition. The Yeagley family, I'm the coach. Now, Todd Yeagley, his father, Jerry, both from Pennsylvania, I believe, like the Westchester area. The father won multiple national titles. I believe Indiana's won 8 national titles on the men's side. The women's side is doing a great job with the new coach as well. So soccer means so much to me. Got in with the Union in 2016, and it's my 10th season here, and I'm so excited to see where the Union were when I first got in to where we are at this point.
So you talked about doing the college back then. What kind of major shifts have you seen in the game from then till now, throughout, for whether it be college, pro, like the attention, the players, the ability, all that?
Yeah, well, number one, I would say from going back from my IU days, and I've done a slew of college soccer games on television as a play-by-play guy. And I would say the quality has definitely increased. And you're seeing a lot of these kids from around the country, number one, I'll speak domestically, that play for so many prominent clubs. For example, they could come from the Philadelphia Union Academy, and a bunch of them play for a former Union Academy assistant coach and head coach, Jeff Cook, who's the head coach at Penn State, for example. And that's all around the country. For example, guys from Chicago Fire Academy might not make it right away in MLS, but could play at a big-time Division I or D2 or D3, whatever fits. So that's one change. Another change, not to go too much in the weeds, but you're seeing schools that have done well in college soccer, like a Vermont, like a Marshall, that will pull kids, and this is not just on the men's side, on the women's side too, internationally. And it's not just soccer. So you're seeing a lot of international kids come over and play our great game in college. And then the last thing I'll say as it relates to what I do with the Union and the pros, then you're seeing a lot of kids that are just very gifted players that you both know that you might cover as young people that get in to academy setup and may flourish and may go from academy, second team, into the first team. And we've seen that for a variety of kids that maybe bypass the college route. Speaking of like a Brendan Aronson, for example, comes to mind, who now stars with our U.S. men's national team, like a Mark McKenzie. And there's so many others, like a Kevin Sullivan who plays with our Union, right, who just turned 16. So there's so many examples. And it's really cool because we have a mix of, guys from Europe, guys that have come from the academy that I just stated, and a few that have come from the college system that are doing well.
Now, let's talk about the Union a little bit. I want to ask you about your favorite broadcasters, number one, because you have a kind of a specialty job. You're not just a broadcaster. You're painting a story.
Sure.
Let's talk about, first of all, the call. Let's go to the call from the radio when the Union won Game 1 against Chicago Fire. Just listen to the enthusiasm in your voice. Let's listen.
He backs up to the ball. 5 steps behind it. Brady ready. This is Bueno for the win. Takes a breath, veers to the left, powers into the ball. Scores! Scores! Bueno! Bueno! The Union win it!
Did you lose your voice on Bueno?
Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. Both kids are a little under the weather, so that's probably why my voice right now is about 50% as well. But you know what? It's all worth it to me because I'm a hometown announcer, number one. So I'm going to get into the game, and I have to, and that's a radio call, and I got to paint that picture for the listening audience. And in that game, we're up 2-0. We allow 2 dead ball situations, 2 set piece goals to Chicago, which they're very good on set pieces. And then we go to another penalty kick shoot. And actually, Bueno won in a PK shootout back in Leagues Cup for us a couple seasons ago. So he's got really should have said ice in his veins. And he is stone cold, stepping up with a lot of confidence. And that's a guy that is maybe a little bit behind our 2 number 6s defensive midfielder positions, Jovan Lukic and Danley. But when Jesus does come in, he does a great job, plays a number of roles, and could play a number of different positions. And I'm so happy for the team to pull that out because, as you both talked about with the format being a best of 3 for this first round, I think it's imperative for the Union to take care of business at home as we go on the road because even though Chicago lost that game, they're playing very good soccer down the stretch.
And as you can see on the screen right now, this is the schedule coming up. Yeah. You have this Saturday at Chicago, but if the Union win, you don't need. That's why you have the asterisk next to November 8th. Talk about that game a little bit last week. Watching that game, that was not a 2-2 game. I mean, in terms of the quality of play, who was controlling the ball. What happened there to let that lead up, and what do they do? Is there anything adjustments need to be made to make sure that doesn't happen again?
These are all great points, Tom. I'll try to go quickly through them. So the Union played Chicago for the 3rd time this year. We beat them at their place, 1-0 at Soldier Field on a penalty by Damiani. We had a rotated roster. Like Ali Bedoya played right back for us. That's not his natural position, so a lot of guys were away. So that's number 1. Number 2, August 23rd, they come to our place. We beat them 4-0. So then they kind of tinkered formation from that point. The story of Chicago, who's led by Greg Berhalter, former U.S. men's national team coach, former Columbus Crew coach amid other stops for his great career, takes the Fire to the playoffs for the first time since 2017, gets their first playoff win since 2009 when they won in a wild card game over Orlando. So what's happened to your questions? Number 1 with Chicago is they played with either you can call it a back 3 or a back 5, or they also play with a back 4. In this game, they opted to play with a back 3. What that means, simply put, is you take the guys on the outside, these wing backs, Gutman on the left is one, Jonathan Dean on the right. They look to get advanced, and they play numbers up top. So the Union, in my opinion, have to try to exploit that space, which I think we did a nice job in that game. The second phase, what happened was around the 21st minute, they dropped and they played a low block. What does that mean for those that maybe aren't aware? They get numbers very deep behind the ball defensive. Just think of guys going towards their goal to help out their goalkeeper, Chris Brady, saying, Union, you have the ball, try to break us down. And the Union are a team, tactically, as you both might know, that are a team that doesn't like to play with a ton of possession. We don't like to play with the ball. We like to dispossess teams, quickly go at them in transition and try to get our goals that way. Possession really is not a big focus for us. So I think as they dropped in the game, Tom and Chris, we still had moments to score. We had an 8th-minute chance with a Jovan Lukic volley that almost was a terrific hit, was just a little bit wide. We make the adjustments with the subs in the second half. So there was no score going into half two. We bring in Michael Uwa coming in and also Frankie Westfield. Uwa's a guy that's different than a Ty Baribo and Bruno Damiani, who are other strikers up top. And Uwa's the vertical threat. You can play a long ball into him, and he could be on the run like 15, 20 yards in possession on a counterattacks. And we hit them. I talked about those outside backs getting forward. We isolated their center backs as a result. Former Union player Jack Elliott, not once but twice, and I love Jack, twice, which led to 2 goals. One that Uwa crossed into Indy Vaslev, who's been great acquisition from St. Louis, played with our manager Bradley Carnell at St. Louis. Then Milani Lasky, another acquisition that came in August from Nordsjælland in Denmark, also played with San Diego. Another transition goal where he scored as well. So I give the coaching staff a lot of brilliance. They did a great job making those changes in the game.
It kind of goes to show when people understand or maybe not understand the excitement of soccer. That was it. You saw it in about 5 minutes of that from however you may feel about penalty kicks in a playoff. But that was really exciting, intense soccer. So I think for the non-fan, I think that was a perfect textbook case of what soccer's about, and it is exciting.
And you know what, Chris, I throw the seeds out the window. You know, we're the 1 seed. We won the Supporter Shield, which is the best mark across the regular season, which is a trophy in our great sport. We won that in 2020. We win that again in 2025 with a whole new staff, a whole new system. And from when the team started in preseason in Spain, with Bradley Carnell coming from St. Louis with a couple assistant coaches, done a great job with some coaches that were retained. But you still have the veterans, and this goes to the point you just made. I mentioned Bedoya, but also like a Kai Wagner, MLS Defender of the Year finalist, Jacob Glesis, a great year, MLS Defender of the Year finalist, Andre Blake. That was, to your point, a very chippy game, a lot of fouls, a lot of yellow cards, which you expect. Chicago came in my opinion, as you both know in sports, nothing to lose for them playing the 1 seed that we were at home. And I give Chicago a ton of credit, though. They came back in the game. They tied it. Jonathan Bamba, a guy on the left-hand side, scored the first, and he really set up the second. He banged it off the wall, and then former Union player Jack Elliott scores a screamer in the 93rd. And I think I told you guys before the show, I love Jack and what he's doing. He's wearing the captain's armband for them.
Just not Sunday.
Just not Sunday, right. And they go to penalties, but penalties, anything can happen, as you both know. And that's what I think is just so exciting about sports. And it's a little different because the last thing I'll say here is that if we continue to go to the next round, not to get too much into it, but you don't go straight to penalties. You play 2 15-minute halves of added extra time. Then if it's tied, you go to penalty kicks. So we try to make it simply for the listening audience. Sometimes it doesn't happen that way with the playoff format, but the playoffs, at least now in the first round, going straight to PKs, it just makes it pretty exhilarating.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. You'll stay with us. Dave Leno, play-by-play for Philadelphia Union, coming right back. We'll talk about where the Union's place is in all of Philadelphia sports. It's a good conversation. Don't go away. Brotherly Love FC. Back after the break.
We need one sort of championship. I mean, the Eagles obviously did it, but yeah, it'd be nice. The Union, you know, they've been a couple times. Hopefully they bring it home this time around.
We're feeling wonderful. We're going back to Chicago. We're going to wrap this thing up. Then we're going to go on. We're going to win it all.
All right, welcome back to Brotherly Love FC. We are joined by Philadelphia Union radio play-by-play announcer, Dave Leno. Dave, let's zoom out a little bit. We always talk about your Philly guy. You grew up here. We always talk about the big four, the Phillies, Sixers, Flyers, Eagles. Make the case for a big five. I'm not talking about basketball, but where does the Union fit in all of this? They seem to be constantly trying to make a name for themselves and fit in. How are they doing?
It's a hot topic in our market. There's no question. I travel around the country with the Union. I get the conversation, and it's a plausible one. And here's what I'll say. As a young dad, you know, I'm out there on soccer Saturdays, and you guys see it traveling around with what you do. in that there are so many kids playing soccer. And I also broadcast college basketball nationally. I do track and field. I've done college football. I can go through them all.
Right.
And I love all those other sports. You know, you can go to basketball. Some kids play football. Flag football is huge, right, with youth right now as well, which is awesome to see around our great market. Where did the Union come in? Okay. So the Union first started in 2010. You know, look at the history of, we don't have to go into it ad nauseum here, but of the Eagles, Phillies, Flyers, Sixers, right? And the Union, you'll come in a lot later.
They're a baby.
Exactly. Still a baby in the market. And I believe that's fine to say. And then what happened was, as the team started to get better, even before my time with the Union, when I first came in 2016, and talking to a lot of people that were there since the beginning to when I got there and to where we are now, it's night and day regarding facilities, resources, what's going on in the stadium. And as far as fanfare goes in the market, what I'd say is you have your diehards that are Union through and through, that have followed the team since the beginning. You also have some folks that have come in as the team has gotten really good. You know, since we got our first playoff win in 2019, and that was at home in a 4-3 win when Marco Fabian scored in the 106th minute. And then we make the run to MLS Cup in 2022, of course, you know, when the Philadelphia Phillies unfortunately lost that World Series that we won't let back,
You have
right?
to bring that one up.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We're all Philly guys here. So which that stunk. But and we lost, unfortunately, the league twice in that game. But that brought in a lot of people in. What I'd say for the Union is that, you know, for the team, it's just you got to continue to get people, I think, down to the park. You know, I love broadcasting the games and being the eyes and ears right now. In my role doing radio is also on, you know, local TV, doing our broadcasts for my first 7 years of the team. We had so many folks following us that maybe didn't know every player, but you can call them the casual fan, but they enjoyed the product, however much they consumed on television or on radio. What's happening now, I would say, is once people get down to Chester and see, you know, the Wisfis Sportsplex, to see all the training fields, to see Union Yards, which is like our brew pub outside the stadium, and all the fans, what I love, there are folks coming from New Jersey, Delaware, pockets of Maryland, where I'm at in Bucks County, South Jersey, some North Jersey, all around the market that you might not think of, that travel down a little bit past the Philly Sports Complex to get to our park. And once you're there, I find, in my opinion, and yeah, I'm a Union guy, but I'm straight shooter, people, I tell you, 99% of the time, the feedback I get is people have such a great time. And I think Chris and Tom, what we have to do is just get people to come see our product in person. And you don't need to be a soccer zealot, a fanatic. You don't need to know the tactics, but once you're there, I think you'll enjoy yourself. You have people you have our veterans out there. You have a lot of young families. I truthfully see in my time at the Union, it's been a while, all walks of life coming down, which I think is goes hand in hand, a great anomaly with soccer. It just brings everybody together.
How about, you know, you see how the NBA made their big leap years ago? It's by like creating stars. And you see the MLS is trying to bring in, you know, a lot of times it's been older stars. How do you think the league can start promoting and, you know, really highlighting individual players? Yeah, obviously it's a team game, but all these, you know, the stars draw people. And is that part of the next step for them to really have, you know, people you see on commercials and all that kind of thing?
I think the league a couple of years ago, Tom, was at a crossroads about whether to, you know, get rid of the narrative of, hey, this is like a retirement league, which I think is one that we, in my opinion, just from my seat, that we need to push away, because I want to keep our young kids here, the guys that can prosper and that can play for the national team, but maybe stay with a Philadelphia Union or another club, as opposed to, hey, my dream has always been to play in the Premier League in Europe or wherever, just to go overseas. And that's still there, just given their long history compared to the 30 years of Major League Soccer. Let's just call it what it is. But when you have the chance to bring in a Lionel Messi, and I remember a couple years ago, and Chris, maybe you did a report in that game, but a semifinal of the League's Cup, it was Messi's first or second game. That was like one of the biggest games ever. Unfortunately, we fell in that game. Messi did score. And he first joined the league. And when I tell you the pageantry fanfare around that game, that was something
I was
else.
down
That
there.
was what I call, So you know, that is what I call, and I do the U.S. Open every year in tennis as a broadcaster, and I call those pseudo events. You guys know what those are, just big spectacles that, like the Super Bowl, that bring everybody in. And I'm not comparing the Super Bowl to the League's Cup. I don't want to go there. But what I'm saying is, I'm seeing grown men cry. I'm seeing two guys straddling the Commodore Barry Bridge,
remember
watching Messi.
Yeah.
I'm calling the game, and I'm saying this on the air, describing it for folks. Watching people come in standing room only. I've never seen in our park 10 deep to see, not just him, but to see, hey, how did the Philly Union do against him? So back to the question. Can you bring in a guy like him? Can you bring in a son from Europe as well that's now starring for LAFC and other guys? I think you have to take that opportunity to grow the league and grow the game. But the next step, again, like we've said maybe a couple times so far, is, in my opinion, I want to keep the rising stars with us. Like Kevin Sullivan, for example, when he turns 18, he's going to go to Manchester City. Now, how cool would it be if he played his whole career? And maybe it's easy for me to say as the play-by-play guy of the Union, but for him to stay with the Union. The same with a Brendan Aronson or a Mark McKenzie and others that have left our club, like a Jack McGlynn that got traded to Houston. That's done great with the U.S. men's national team. I wish all these guys could stay. So the league, I think, is I think it's a hot topic, and I bet you in New York in the league office, they're constantly discussing, hey, how do we still want to attract these guys? How do we alter our roster rules where maybe clubs can spend a little bit and sacrifice on the parity so we can spend the $5, $10, $15 million on some of those players other than Miami, LAFC, and some others, because the Union, quite frankly, and this is no surprise to anybody watching that follows us, we are not the top club in spending. We're towards the bottom.
Right.
We don't have a ton of superstars. Our guys would tell you that. Our sporting director, Ernst Tanner, would say that. And that's what makes that David and Goliath story about the Union so cool, and that we're the one seed in these playoffs. And
Yeah,
have a
that's
chance
why there's such a good story right now.
Yeah.
All right, Dave, stick around. We got a couple minutes left. We're going to take another quick break. Brotherly Love FC coming back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to Brotherly Love FC. We have a couple minutes left with Union broadcaster Dave Leno. Dave, Union, let's real quick, this weekend they could do it. They could go to round 2, but I want to get your thoughts on the World Cup next year. Huge event. Give us a taste of what you think Philly is going to be like during World Cup.
I think it's going to be wild here. And I think a lot of folks, I say this to a lot of friends and family, I think folks don't know what's coming. I know the Club World Cup, some may say, well, it's successful, maybe some, some left to be desired. But depending on who Philadelphia draws, Mexico, Germany, I mean, we can go down the line, Brazil. These fans are going to take over the city. And what I implore people is that, and we get a lot of, you both know, a lot of casual people every 4 years will watch the World Cup, casual sports fans. I implore you to tune in. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think Philadelphia is going to host, 6 games? I'm hoping maybe towards maybe after the group stage, maybe the U.S. men's national team rolls through Philly. That's just a Philly guy in me. But these bars, restaurants, as far as the economic impact of Philadelphia, it's going to be great. I know the sports complex, Chris, I know you'll be down there, Tom, you'll be covering it too. It's going to be crazy, and I'm really looking forward to it. And obviously, as an American guy, I'm hoping the U.S. men's national team can kind of turn some heads and get out of the group stage and go far.
December 5th, we get the draw.
December 5th is the draw, so we'll know who's coming here. Then we'll be able to see all the scenarios to see who might be here for that July 4th game, which is going to be out of control. The round of 16, July 4th, 250th birthday of the country. Obviously, the dream scenario would be a little U.S.-England action, but, we'll see what happens.
I want to get to our youth highlight, but 2 quick questions before you leave. Favorite broadcaster, why?
Well, gosh, I can go on and on, but very quickly, a guy that I look up to a lot is Kevin Harlan, just given his TV and radio background, and I've spoken to Kevin a lot, and he's the first one that comes to mind maybe on the national standpoint, just because how he describes the game on radio. I'm really big about painting a very detailed picture, kind of like a guy taking a quarter kick. I would say, Chris, pendulums his leg back, mauls it forward, outswinging ball with plenty of pace, just rather than saying, here's Chris taking the corner kick.
Yeah.
So that's one who also does a great job on TV. And then all the radio guys in the market and TV, but from Harry Callis down to Mark Zumoff, Tom McGinnis does a great job on the radio with the Sixers, and Jim Jackson on the Flyers, Tim Saunders, and all our great broadcasters, Merrill Reese, of course, and Tom McCarthy, Scott Fransky. So I love all the Philly men and women, play-by-play and analysts. I'm partial to it, but everybody I follow, including you guys here at Fox.
All right, Dave Leno, thank you so much for joining us. We got one last thing. What do we got, Tom?
We got
a youth highlight.
from our friends over at Lower Merion, U12 boys. Look at this coming down the wing. hits the corner. Goalie does not have a chance. Great job here by the U12 boys in the Lower Merion. Don't forget, send us your highlights.
Dave, how
on
would you call
Instagram.
that? Give us a call as we
I would
go
say,
out.
swings his leg, going to the back post, on the grist the whole way and scores.
There we go.
Peels off the defender and in. What a strike with precision.
Look at that.
Awesome. That's great. Dave Leno, thank you so much for joining us. Union playoff this weekend. Good luck.